r/ask Reddit. People who have had friends stab you in the back. What is the story? My husband and I, had a friend that we helped get back on his feet, paid off some tickets he had, got his license reinstated, hooked him up with a solid connection for a reasonable, well-running car to replace his beater, and gave him a place to live and a job, automotive repair. He decided it was a better choice to tell all our customers we were overcharging them. Spoiler, we weren't, and he'd do the jobs cheaper if they'd bring it to him at his house. This was a short time after he moved out of our house, after never repaying anything he owed us. Not that we'd asked. Broke my heart. Some will take as much as they possibly can. I had a best friend that I knew for 16 years. She got pregnant and her parents tried to kick her out. Her parents wanted her to get an abortion but she refused. One of our HS friends told me someone should push her down a flight of stairs so she can miscarry. I told her that's a very bad idea and defended my best friend. The next day, the principal came by my class to ask me if I could attend a meeting about something important. If I didn't attend, I was going to be expelled. When I arrived to the meeting, our shared friend claimed I was going to shove my best friend down flights of stairs so she can miscarry. My best friend believed her. We stopped talking after that. That's one of the worst things in this thread. Duck the former shared friend. Fingers crossed for karma. Friend told me they weren't doing anything for their birthday. On the day of their birthday, photos appeared on Facebook of them out with the rest of our friends. They're not my friends anymore. Duck, man. One of my most painful memories from elementary school was when I saw one of my friends showing other kids pictures from her birthday party that happened the weekend prior. Almost all of my good friends were there having a blast with her. Except me, obviously. She seemed remorseful when she realized that she forgot to invite me, but we were never as close after that, and we were pretty good friends with each other, too. Years ago when I did a health sciences undergraduate degree, most of the cohort was determined to get into medical school. Our medical school program mainly accepted students from only our competitive undergraduate course. Due to subject prerequisites, we all knew each other and were friendly, hanging out together and forming study groups. Many of my friends were great. We shared tips, resources, practiced exams and interviews together. But there were a handful who really wanted to get into medical school. And since the program ranks applicants mainly based on undergraduate results, the better your friends perform, the lower your ranking is for selection. So near application time, some of us would head off to the university library to borrow our textbooks to find chapters or page numbers that the lecturer mentioned would be on the exam. And they would be ripped out. You'd go and find another library copy of the textbook, and that page would be ripped out too. All of them. Totally removed in a hurry. I didn't believe that someone from our cohort did it until interview practice began. Students began obtaining copies of the questions from previous years and lying when others asked if they had it. I saw someone give a terrible, awful interview answer and the other student would give them glowing feedback and inform them they should say that, word for word. During the interview, it was a shit show and a lot of relationships fell apart, or were never the same again. I booked a table for 6 people to watch a sports event at a bar. I tell them so. All 5 friends say okay, we will be there. No one shows up or even has the decency call or text that they were not coming. Similar thing happened to me a couple years back. I hosted a little Halloween party at my place for 4 friends. And even though it was a month in the making, all of them flaked. I don't know about you, but that really took the wind out of my sails and I haven't hosted any get-togethers since, Made plans to go see a movie with my friends for my 16th birthday and planned it weeks in advance. Everybody bailed the day before but I decided to still go see the movie. Ran into my whole group of friends leaving the movie theater while buying popcorn. That's brutal. Did you confront them? Yay. Lot of hemming and hawing with no real explanation and no apology. Still went to see my movie, Underworld, and learned a valuable lesson about people and friends. Sucked at the time but eventually that lesson was a great b-day gift. Had a good bud of mine, who's the godfather of my son, living with me and my wife. I travel a lot for work, and was out of the country for about 6 months in the Middle East. Came back and found out she was pregnant, with twins, and that they weren't mine. Best friend for 8 years, started sleeping with my girlfriend, later wife, a week after I introduced them. Took 6 years after my son was born to find out they would meet up a few times a month. Was a chance he wasn't mine. Luckily he is. He accused me of sexually assaulting his younger sister, who was basically my little sister too, at the time. It's completely false and it's the most mind-boggling thing that's ever happened to me. Did they have anything to gain from it? I learned at a young age that people suck. My stepmom and dad tried to claim my grandpa raped me, just so they could use that in court to get custody of me. It really took a toll on my grandpa, who did nothing wrong. Asked 2 of my friends if they wanted to live together in college. Then one of them asked another person in our friend group if he wanted to join in as well. Then they asked another, and another, and then once there were too many people for one apartment, they dropped me out of it. No longer friends with any of them. Was kinda a wake up call though, because I definitely gave way too much of myself to those people, not knowing that I was the most expendable one. It really taught me not to put others on a pedestal and respect myself more, and has since led to me developing far more healthy relationships that bring me a lot of happiness. My best friend since 4th grade. Called her my soul sister. I genuinely was so grateful to have what I thought our friendship was. She fell on hard times, got weirdly religious, and stopped working while going to her private uni. I was always there for her, shoulder to cry on. Visited her all the time because she didn't have any friends and I knew she was lonely. Helped her with groceries and rent. Helped her family out. One day she came over and after buying her groceries, she told me a higher power has been telling her to cut me off for 2 years and she had to listen. Now she wants to be friends again. It's a hard nope from me, dog. Best friend stopped talking to me after my dad died. Took the whole friend group with him. Apparently I was too emotional. I was 13. Having my entire friend group walk away from me when I was in such a shitty place stuck with me forever. In 7th grade she wrote a 10-page letter on all the reasons I should kill myself, and had all but one of my friends sign an agreement after I confided in her that I felt like something was wrong with me. Early undiagnosed depression. Go figure. The day she gave it to me was arguably the worst day of my life at the point, because my parents told my sister and I that they were considering divorce, and my grandmother died. I am so sorry, what a horrible day. How are you doing now? My parents ended up solving their issues and are happier than ever. I've been in therapy for a while and it's had wonderful results along with a pretty good mood stabilizer. I'm happier and healthier than I've ever been. And honestly the best thing for me was to completely cut her out of my life. Everyone that signed an agreement has long since cut contact with her and apologized to me. I had one friend. I was bullied by everyone at elementary school, because my friend would be bullied too when they hung out with me at school. We only played outside of school. One day a popular kid asked to play with me during recess. I was ecstatic, until after a while they said you're not as bad as friend said you are, and that's how I learned why I was bullied. So they were making people bully you just so you'd have no one else and play with they after school? What happened after you found out? Friend became friend. Never lend a friend money, especially if they still haven't paid you back from anything else they owe you. People always say this. A friend of mine have lent each other money in small amounts often over the years. In our early 20s there'd be lots of times I'd be flat broke and he'd have some cash and vice versa for going out. We'd always pay each other back. I've also needed larger amount, for example, about $800 to cover rent when I was in a bad spot. Paid him back. Neither of us have any family who would give lenders money. Recently, because of a bunch of stuff, he needed me to pay for his tuition for some classes he's taking, which was about $5,000. It took him about a year, but just made his last payment. Without us doing this, there would have been lots of times we'd have just been ducked. I had some friends who were always talking crap about me. Found out from another good friend. And one day I came to school in my brand new jeans that costed around 150 euros and they put glue on my chair while I was in the bathroom. I sat on it. I asked which one of them did it. None of them said a word. We went to the principal's office and these pos had the balls to say that I put it there to get them in trouble. Their parents were called and I earned around 200 euros and a new pair of jeans. I see this as an absolute win. My friends told me to grieve better after my boyfriend died. Some people are just terrible with dealing with the grieving. They're great for a little while, but at some point it just becomes an irritation whenever it's brought up. Grief gives no ducks. It'll hit you, fade, hit, fade, then mostly settle down. Then 7 Christmases later it shows up in a panic attack. It's different for everyone, and often different for every death. A guy who seemed like a good mate when it was just us, and then as soon as there was someone else, or a group, he took the piss out of me and tried to make me the butt of all jokes. Even worse if there were girls around. After a while, I called him out on it, and he was just like, dude, it's just a joke. But I was done with him after that. I saw him randomly earlier this year, after years of no contact, and it was amicable, and we caught up a bit on how we're getting on with our lives. And while he has grown up and become a bit more grounded, there's been no intention of rebuilding a bridge. I think if I ever met someone who has that side to their personality, I'd drop them like a hot potato. Grew up going to the same church and met my friend and her family when I was 14. We grew up together, hung out, and our families would be together all the time. Fast forward many years and I am dating a guy that I fell in love with for almost 3 years at the time. He went to ND to the oil fields for work. I went to visit him and could tell something was off a bit. Took the train from my town to Williston, 22 hours to get there. Visited him for 5 days, and on the last day he gets up and goes to shower. I grab his phone. We had an open policy with each other that either could be on each other's phones. I found the emails between my friend and him. My family still hangs out with her family and her. I refuse to be around or speak to her. She slept with my boyfriend because she thought she was in love with me? Wackest shit I ever did here. To trade bodily fluids? She should duck herself with that logic. In college, my best friend and I had an art class together with a guy I was hanging out with on the regular, getting to know each other to see if there was anything more there. He and I hung out, messed around, had fun, etc. Nothing formal or spoken just yet, but we communicated daily. We were more than friends, but not a dedicated couple. One day I stopped by his house after a morning class for a reason that I forget. Knocked, no answer. So I let myself in the unlocked door. Small Kansas town. Nobody locks anything, so I could leave him a note. Pre-cell phones texting. At least for me. Well, her purse was on the chair by the door. Nobody answered when I called out his name. Or hers. His car was there. Her purse was there. They were there. Ugh. I got back at her though. Almost 20 years later. She friend requested me on Facebook and I denied that beach. Take that, Jessica. Been very good friends for over 2 years. Their roommate moved out and they asked me if I want to move into their spare room. I was very happy to live with my good friends and I did everything I could to be the best roommate possible. After 3 weeks they found another source of income and kicked me out. First, they offered to help me find another accommodation, but the next day they changed their mind and just told me to leave by the end of the month. It was 7 days until the end of the month. They didn't spoke to me ever since. When we met somewhere in town they acted like they never seen me before. I have no ducking idea what I did wrong. Nothing. You did nothing wrong. A woman I thought was my friend. We worked together for years. Our kids were friends. I helped her and her husband out when he was having mental health problems. She was in my sister's wedding party, appeared in court as a witness for my ex-wife in her bid to gain full custody. Thankfully she failed and I now have custody of my kids. I haven't spoken to my friend since. Friend was really close with me and my girlfriend. Friend was my girlfriend's confidant while we were dating. I trusted friend because he was a good guy up to that point. Friend was constantly pinning her against me, making bigger deals out small stuff, saying I was mistreating her by not being with her constantly cause I was working a full-time job while in school. Girlfriend cheats on me with friend. Friend tried to turn everyone against me. Only person who still associates with friend is girlfriend and they're getting married in the next few months. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.